Alrighty. So we're doing a summary running through chapter 8, chapter 9, and chapter 10 today, right? So the print is small, so I gotta use glasses. All right. So when we looked at chapter 9, chapter 8 of the book, it was titled Keep Your Circle Tight. Keep your circle, your team tight, make and guarantee those are your team, as it were, you're guaranteeing, those that you're trusting in, that they would be there to do what they're expected to do, when called upon, or they're doing their work, So the first step to knowing who your friends are is to know yourself. Just looking at it from our lives as a whole, the first steps, if you're gonna know who your friends are, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to be close to people, you must know yourself, because yourself is the person that's going to relate with the person you're calling your friend. If you don't know yourself, you can't know your friends. If everybody is your friend, then you don't know yourself, because if you know yourself, everybody cannot be your friend, right? Because if you know yourself, then you know that you have a personality. Your personality has limitations, right? As much as you're not going to bind yourself by that limitation, you must also respect the limitation, because everything you do outside the limitation is strain on your person, is a depletion of your strength. Everything you do within your personality, is probably filling your tank. Everything you do outside your personality is draining you, right? So you want to reduce the drain and increase things that feed you. You want to do things that feed you, right? Not things that take away from you. Because if you always do things that take away from you, one time you don't do that, you don't take caution, you can get to the place where you go to zero, you get exhausted. Right. A lot of people do that because they don't know themselves. They don't know where to stop. They keep on giving, and suddenly they break down. To different degrees, depression, or whatever it is. But you need to know yourself so that you can have what you call a sustainable relationship with others. Not one that you get to ground zero, but one that you can keep going continually, because you're refueling, right? So for you to know your friends, for you to know the people you need to spend time with, people not to spend time with, you need to know yourself. Because then you know yourself, then you know the people that drain you, you know the people that feed you. You know the people that drain you, you know the people that feed you. Then you manage your time around each one so that you don't never run out of energy. You never run out of emotional strength, emotional fuel, right? You have enough love to go around to share with people without getting to zero, right? That's important, right? And that we came up with as tied to Sun Tzu's quote, where it talks about that, if you don't know your enemy, right, and if you know yourself, you don't know your enemy, you're not gonna win every war, right? If you know yourself and you don't know your enemy, you're not going to be able to win wars guaranteed. You must know yourself and you must know your enemy. Then you can plan a right. Another one that we looked at recently is Spartacus, right? What they call them, the gladiator Spartacus, and he puts it this way. He says that his confidence is from knowing his fears and the fears of his enemies. In a sense, it's also saying knowing myself and knowing the people I want to relate with or not to relate with. And I'm able to then guard myself, right? So who you are determines who you can be, who you are, and who you will be. There's no gainsaying about that. If you don't treat that right, it will only be to your downfall, right? Who you are determines who you can be, who you are, and who you will be, right? An adult and your attitude, your basic personality is already formed, right? And you don't need to change it. There's nothing wrong with your personality. Every personality has weaknesses and strengths. There is no bad personality. You just need to understand it, right? And use the strength and guard against the weakness. Every personality has weaknesses and strengths. There's nothing wrong with your personality. You just need to understand what are the strengths, then build excellence based on the strengths. What are the weaknesses? Then guard against those weaknesses so they don't bring about your downfall. All right. It's not about wanting to, someone wrote something about not about wanting, it's not about being an introvert and you want to be an extrovert, or an extrovert wants to be an introvert. I mean, those are exercises in vain, in futility. Wrong. There's nothing wrong whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. There's nothing wrong in either. You just need to know who you are and use who you are to get what you want. Right? Not try to be who you're not. That brings the point of authenticity, right? I love the way Oprah Winfrey says it. He says that, if only she had known, that being yourself will make you a lot of money, she would have been herself a long time, because it claims that all the money she's made has been because she was herself, right? She became authentic. I mean, authentic made her money. And I read stories of several other people, including Amy and Lemur, that we started, which was our second book. And they'll talk about the power of being authentic, right? Being authentic will break through for you. It's your winning formula. You don't win by trying to be who you're not. You win by being who you are, right? And also knowing yourself, knowing the people you want to relate with, it goes with the scriptures. Says two cannot walk together except they be agreed, right? And agreement means that there is a commonality between the two. If I'm going to relate to someone, I must have a commonality between that person. There must be some kind of overlap. Our relationship is going to be at the overlap. If you're talking to someone who you entirely, you have nothing in common, then you cannot go together. You're destined not to walk together, because two cannot walk together except they be agreed. Now, agreement now could be in different form. It could be different levels of overlap, right? Will then determine how close or unclose, you can walk with that person, whether that person is just going to be a mere acquaintance, or it's going to be a friend, a tight friend, whatever. Is a function of how much commonality you all have together, right? And so as we get older, we don't lose friends, we know who the true friends are, right? As you get older, you get hopefully understand yourself more, understand others more, and people begin to fall off, right? Because you begin to know, as you begin to be more authentic, to things, to the knowledge you're gaining. Two things you never have to chase two things. You never have to change true love or true friends, right? True love attract, true friends attract, commonalities bring people together, right? And uncommonality draws people apart. That's why you talk about, so in marriages where you talk about, people say that they grew apart. They grew apart. That's why a lot of marriages, fall apart, because they grew apart. They were not growing together. They grew apart, right? When you don't have commonality, then it's difficult to work together, right? And you don't want to hang it. And that part of that might be, you don't want to hang around garbage, right? You're going to smell, right? So you want to choose your friends, and hopefully each one will take care of themselves, such that that will build the commonality. They'll be growing together, not a growing apart, right? That's important, in keeping friendship. I'm going to go on. That's all we had for chapter 8. We're on into chapter 9, and chapter 9 talked about run the marathon, pretty much live life. Life is a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's not about, you have a whole lot of life ahead of you. And M56 this year. I posted a picture of myself with my children 18 years ago today as part of the commemoration of Father's Day. 18 years ago was almost like that was all there was life to. It's almost 20 years now, 2 decades after, and there's still so much more in front of me. So much more life in front of me. So we don't run to exhaust life because life. There's time for everything you want to do in life. I know it doesn't look like that, but there is time. I tell you what the benefit of 56 going to 60. There is time. That's why we're talking about long-term, short-term, right? We're talking about having a plan for your whole existence, see yourself in your deathbed, what would you want to have accomplished by the time you're dying, you're leaving the scene, and break it down, bring that future to the present, and let them now decide how you want to break all of that big lifetime goal, break them down into pieces, and then begin to chunk on them one after the other. Your lifetime goal is like a mountain, right? You don't move a mountain at once, but you start moving it one stone at a time, one stone at a time, one stone at a time, right? Before you know it, the mountain has moved, right? Don't go trying to move a whole mountain. Move it one stone at a time, one stone at a time. That's the way to succeed in life. That's the way to be wealthy in life. That's the way to have a good life. And that's the way to have a great life, right? So life is not a sprint. It's a marathon, right? Life has to live accordingly. And one of the things I said repeatedly as we shared this chapter was the parable of the wise and the foolish virgin. And what we'll learn from that parable is the need to be both short-term and long-term. Short-term and long-term. It's not short-term or long-term. It is short-term and long-term. In our planning, in our outlook, and in our living, we must be short-term, long-term, right? So yeah, the foolish virgins only took enough oil to wait for the bridegroom. They assumed that the bridegroom would come on time, so they did not take extra oil. The wise ones took oil for if the bridegroom comes on time, but they considered if the bridegroom delayed, they held extra oil for the delay. They were both short-term and long-term. That is the way to live life successfully, right? So you have to be prepared to win all the days of your life, not just win in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Your plan must be a lifetime goal, a lifetime winning, a lifetime victory, a lifetime good life. You don't just plan for your working life, you also plan for your retirement, right? You plan for till you leave this place, you must have a plan, right? There's no retirement. You must have a plan of what you'll be doing and how you will live successfully until you die, right? That is wisdom. That is what God expects of us all to do, right? You must be prepared for the visible and the invisible future, right? We're here to use life. Life was created for us. We're not created for life, right? We are here to use life, not life using us, right? There's no excuse of not succeeding because of age. We're here to succeed, right? He that put us here plan that we will succeed regardless of the season of life, right? We're to succeed in season and out of season, right? So we continue in chapter 9, and we said, when life happens, we can trust that it happened for us and not against us, right? We will have incidents along the way. It's all part of life. Life happens. It's part of life, right? There's no guaranteed life, right? Life happens. Life is not a straight line. Life is a curve. rough line, all of that. That's what life is, and the earlier you get, you fall in line with that, the better for you. And I tell that from the benefit of being in depression, 2 times. So life is what life is. Life does not. When life happens, it happens for you, not against you. It's up to you to use it, not cry. Right? It's not the end of life. Whatever happens to you, you use it. You rise up to the occasion. You rise above it. You grow above the circumstance and use it. Right? Not allow it to overwhelm you. Right? We're created to succeed. That's the given. Right? The first response to a state of confusion should always be calmness. And you see that in scriptures. Every time there's a state of confusion, there's trouble. God's word is be still. Be still, be still, because when you're not still, you can't hear from God. When your whole life is upside down, you can't hear from God, and you need guidance to win. You need guidance to win. Your guidance is coming from the inside of you. If you are not allowing peace on the inside, then you can't hear. You can't receive guidance. You need to hear. You need to receive guidance so you can win, right? So you need to be still. When things go the way you planned it, rest, be still, and trust that God's got you. The universe got you. You were created to succeed. There's always a way when there seems to be no way, but you need to listen to your guidance system so you can find the way that it already has been provided for you, right? So you got to be calm when things don't go your way so you can get guidance, right? So life is about, a win-win or no deal, life as a whole. And when we do a win-win or no deal, that comes from love and faith. That's the way God created it. We should never be pressured to making a decision. We should not be doing a win-lose or lose-win relationship or engagement itself, right? We should not rush into an engagement or relationship. We need to sit back and think through, and never do anything out of fear. Whatever we do, let it be that it's a decision we're taking the depth of our being. We're deciding to have a win-win or a no deal. That's important. And that's all we did on chapter 9. So we're going to go on to chapter 10 here, which is the last chapter we're looking at today. And the title of chapter 10 was Protect the Realm, which is pretty much guaranteeing the quality of what you do, protecting your brand, right? We all have a brand. It's about the need to protect your brand, protect who you are, right? And I've had that, severally in my life. Several incidents of life, has brought that to forth for me. Back 23 years ago, I put in all my energy doing some work and I didn't get the reward for it. So the question was, should I stop putting my energy into work? I had to make a decision, that I was going to continue being myself, right? Even if man would not reward me, God will, right? And all that I learned that year, I made a judgment that it wasn't to waste. Nobody can take away what I learned in that year. Even though I didn't get the reward from man, I believed and I trusted that God will reward me, right? So I kept my brand. My brand is always working with the whole of my heart, right? Everything that I do with the whole of my heart, right? That's what scriptures tells us anyway, that we should do everything heartily as unto the Lord. And that's what guides my life. Whatsoever I'm doing, I don't do it for the money, so what I'm doing it in church, friends, group, everyone that knows me can testify that everything that I do with the whole of my being, right? So much so a lot of people seem to think that I must be getting something that they don't know about. No, it's just who I am, right? I put all that I am into everything that I do, whether there is monetary reward or not. It's just the way I get fulfilled, doing it. So what we're talking about here, is guaranteeing whatever standard, you've come about for yourself, So like I gotta say, I said my work is my signature, and that's a signature for all of us. Everybody would judge you by the work that you do. It's your signature, right? People should know you by the work that you do, right? So that's why I gotta say I work for free, because I don't work for money. I just work, I just enjoy what I do. And when I enjoy what I do, I give my heart to it, it makes me happy, So I work for my happiness, I work for my joy, I work for my fulfillment, money is something else, yeah. I do know how to make money. So it's got nothing to do with the work that I do. I do know how to make money, and I use those principles to make money, whether it's tied to what I'm doing or not, So the quality of your work will be long remembered, after the speed or the cheapness or the price of which you did it, So your work leaves a memory in the minds of people. What kind of memory do you want to leave, right? So we all need to determine our value system that we want to lead by. We need to have a moral compass which guides all that we do. Otherwise, we might be gone with the wind, right? The wind all around trying to push us one way or the other. What keeps us stay as an anchor is what we have determined to be our moral compass. What we have determined to be our values. Those are the things that keep you at peace, that make you happy, or do the things that will make you happy. Those are the things that keep you from going for a temporal enjoyment, at the risk of, a permanent, dissatisfaction, right? But you have to be clear as to what your values are, what your moral compass is, what is it that you believe in, and and use that to make judgments that guide your life, right? Don't forget, your conscience is not the voice of God. You can kill it, right? If you do something so long, your conscience will be at peace with it, right? First of all, it's going to trouble you, but if you do it, it will be at peace with you and with it, because your conscience no more talking doesn't mean that what you're doing is right. Conscience is a voice of your mind, right? And it is programmed. You can program it to be a guide or to be your ally. It's up to you, right? So we talked about perfectionism. I used to be a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and perfectionism is not a strength, right? It's too outward focused. We should live our lives to express our being, not impress people, right? Express our being. We're not called to be slaves. We're freeborn, right? And everyone, we have something in us that others need. Should be about giving that, not trying to make people happy in their misery. That's important. And we're talking about being authentic, right? You have to determine being authentic and having quality. Yeah, you're you and you're enough, right? You're you and you're enough. I see that statement is it's trying to take the statement out. Yeah, but I see it two ways. More delete this part here. Yeah, you and you're enough, right? And yeah, every value that you determine that you have will be tested, right? The question and what is truly a value is a value you uphold when you are tested. You have to be willing to defend your value, otherwise it's not yours, right? If you don't defend, it's a value you don't have, right? And we need to be intentional, about leaving, right? And there's our quote which says intentionality is a fuel of masters. Anything you want to be a master of, you have to be intentional about it. You have to be proactive about it. That's how you become the master. If you just do it when you feel like doing it, you will always be you always be an amateur in it. Masters go beyond feelings, they make judgments, right? So if there's a problem, address it. Don't deny it, work on it, sort it out. right? You have to be, yeah, you have to be sincere with yourself. That's how you protect your brand, and live to the height of whatever it is that you're involved in. All right, that's a rush through a summary for chapter 8, chapter 9, and chapter 10. All right, that's all I got. I'm gonna shut this down here. Thanks for staying with me. I'll be back next Sunday and we'll go ahead and do the summary for chapter 11, 12, 13, and the epilogue, So then we'll up on Sunday, we'll start with a new book, The Good Life. All right. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great